Hello, welcome back to another episode of Cattail Talks. Sorry for the short delay on this one. I, I could give a ton of excuses, but I think the way I'll just say it is that a lot of stuff happened. Don't worry about it though. We're fine. We're back. And you know what? I don't know if we're better than ever, but we're good at something. So, maybe maybe we'll actually say something worthwhile. But this episode, I want to talk a bit about a new subject, the Halo Reclaimer trilogy, and how I think it has such insane wasted potential as a story, because it was extremely interesting what they were trying to do with it, right? The whole Forerunner thing, making the Forerunners into the enemies, I think was a smart idea. At least, it would have been a smart idea if they knew what the heck they were doing, but they didn't. Halo 4's story was kind of convoluted and a mess, unless you, read into the lore, which, not exactly what you want from your story, but whatever. Who cares? But I think that's not the only problem with it. It's like Halo 5 came along, but Halo 4 itself also had a few other problems. The Cortana death probably could have been a bit more built up to. It didn't really feature a Halo ring. The Didact and Librarian stuff was a bit weird. You get it. Halo 5 story, we all know that was a mess. Halo Infinite, I think, was the worst. I think Halo Infinite is the worst story out of any Halo game. I will stand by that statement. Because, think about it this way, right? Halo Infinite's story is about Master Chief and Cortana and their relationship, right? But at the same time, the game doesn't want to commit to anything regarding that, any relationship between them, not even a romantic relationship or anything, but just their actual just person to person connection. The game does not want to commit at all. So it just ends up coming across as the game doesn't really know what it wants, and therefore it fails in all aspects. So there's that. And then the other thing is that it's just not the cleanest transition. It also makes the words from Halo 4 kind of just more sad. If you remember in Halo 4, Cortana was like, they'll replace me, right? It won't actually be me. And Halo Infinite's over here, it's like, oh no, that's not what we meant at all. No, that's not what happened. No, we didn't want to. We weren't going to replace you. That isn't a thing that was going to happen. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. You were going to replace them. That's exactly what you're going to do. So it just ends up coming across as that they didn't really have a plan at all, or if they did, they scrapped it after Halo 5. So it just does not put a good feeling, right? It just comes across as that they didn't know what they were doing. It's sad too, because the actual story that they could have told, and the relationship between the different characters and everything, it was expanded upon so much from the original trilogy, because you had some stuff, but it was kind of sidelined for the whole Flood plot and then the Covenant. And I won't say that I think that the Forerunners are better villains than the Flood, but they were good villains for what they were, I guess. Also, it, I think the Forerunners just in general, that it's so interesting the stuff they could have done with them that they just didn't for some reason, and I don't know why. Because it almost comes across as they wanted to do something really interesting with them, but they just didn't for some reason. It feels like the Forerunners were supposed to be like these super complex villains, and the Didact was supposed to be like this big bad. But for some reason, they killed him off in the first game. Which, why exactly? It it doesn't make sense to me. If anything, it almost kind of confirms my suspicion that they didn't know exactly what they were doing, and then they just came across nothing. So I've spent like 5 minutes talking about this, and we've gotten nowhere. So, uh, you know, maybe we'll talk about something else. I don't, maybe we can just like transition into uh, a rewrite, because I think that's what we need for all of it, honestly. If we're gonna rewrite this Reclaimer trilogy, though, I'm gonna set a few rules. One is that we can't really, um, I don't want to add like new villains and stuff into the sandbox. I want to keep what is already there. And by that I mean that we aren't going to go and change everything and make it so that, like, you know, the Flood or whatever are now the villains and the Forerunners don't exist. No, or we're not going to make it so like, oh, there's this other Forerunner big bad that also exists. No, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to keep the Didact. We're going to keep Atriox and whoever the other guy was. But we're going to try and change the story so that we can have everything flow in a more natural way. Because one of the biggest problems is that the flow from 5 to Infinite just doesn't exist. So there isn't really uh, anything that we could do with that exactly. So the point we got to work with now is to just start from the ground up. I think if we start from the ground up and work against or work with the tools that we're given, in doing that, we can well, we can keep what made the stories good, and then also add on the other things that, you know, can make the story better. The whole point here is to just say that, yeah, no, Halo has the Reclaimer trilogy, and Halo 4 has its flaws, but we can at least work with it. We can at least improve. I don't want this to be like, oh, I'm better, or whatever. Anyway, I think that's enough explanation, really. I think for now, what we should focus on first would probably be the transition from Halo 4 or Halo 3 to Halo 4. I think it was handled pretty well, but I also think that Dawn as a mission probably didn't need to exist. It reminds me a lot of Cairo Station from Halo 2, except it didn't need to exist. So, like, I think if we just start on Requiem instead, it would just be better. That's my opinion, anyway. I mean, you could feel free to disagree, but I think starting on Requiem, like maybe the game starts with Master Chief crash landed already. No, I suppose that's just. I think we start on Requiem. We get that whole thing out of the way. We have to establish a main villain or something, right? We can't just say, "Oh, the Covenant are evil again." We need to be like, "Okay, why are the Covenant evil? What's their plan here? What's their motive? What's their go ahead, go to, whatever? What are we doing here?" So, I don't. Was it like Jul Mandama or something? That was the villain of Halo 4 or whatever, led that Covenant faction. We'll just start with him and introduce the Didact in the Forerunner mission again. Just do that same song and dance. Just this time, we have a clear reason to fight the Covenant other than we don't have a truce anymore or whatever. Because let's be honest, that's pretty lame motivation. If like that, it just ends the truce for no reason, then why? I don't understand. So we fix that. The whole Cortana thing and her becoming rampant, I think that's okay. I don't really like how they did it, but what exactly are we gonna do? There's only so much of a story we could go into there that's different from what already exists, and well, if nothing else, if nothing else, we at least have character motive for Master Chief to want to get back to Earth, other than just I want to get back to Earth. Because let's be real, Master Chief as a character probably needs something. I like making his whole thing with Cortana like his main motivation, other than just oh I'm fighting for Earth, because that's kind of lame motivation. Let's be real. So if we just make his motivation different, we can work with that. And I'm like not really organized at all in what I'm trying to explain. Basically, the point of Halo 4 would be to introduce the Didact, establish Master Chief's stake in the whole fight, which would be that he wants to save Cortana, but Cortana dies anyway. So if we have Cortana die anyway, not only does that, uh, well, does that like motivate Chief going forward, but it also gives us a reason, I think, to bring the Librarian back into the story. So here's the thing with Halo 4: the Librarian is like his ultra important character that's introduced, but nothing is ever done with. Nobody knows who they are, nobody cares who they are, but they're they're here. And if we're gonna deal with that, then well, we want to keep the Librarian as an actual consistent character here. And that means that we need to basically turn around and say, yeah, no, this isn't working. We need an actual, like, I don't know, deuteragonist? Well, that we haven't even, like, introduced the main Covenant yet. But the first one, Halo 4 should just be about Jul Mandama and all of them fighting off Master Chief. The Forerunners come in and they fight. And that's how we just tie up Halo 4, have Cortana die. I don't really care about the whole composer storyline. I think maybe it could be a bit better, but realistically, I don't have any improvements that we could make there. So, in short, we want for Halo 4, Cortana dies. Master Chief feels that kind of emotion thing. What do we do with Lasky and Del Rio? No one cares. I mean, we could edit this later. Honestly, I just am stating, for starters, that Halo 4 needs to. It can keep a similar story. It needs to be fundamentally different. Halo 5 is where it gets interesting. Locke doesn't exist here. Well, he does, but we're just going to ignore him for now. Instead, we're going to be like, okay, Arbiter is going to deal with the Banished, because the Banished return once they learn that the Prophets are dead. And there's like, Arbiter, you're cool. We want to, we want to take over everything because we heard you kill the Prophets, and now our power can be unmatched or whatever. But now they get mad at the Arbiter, because the Arbiter's like, no, because that's dumb. So now the Arbiter and like those Covenant remainders have to fight off the Banished, which will be that story. And then the Didact can come in, since the humans would be against the Didact. They'd probably go to Arbiter and be like, hey, we have this giant threat coming along and you're our ally. Come help. So we tie in the Banished by making them the Arbiter's villain, and tie in the Arbiter story of Halo 5 to that. And then the UNSC will be fighting off the Forerunners. Now, where's Master Chief and all this? They'd probably like chase down the Forerunners to a Halo ring or something, have like a giant battle there. Just use the Halo ring that was in Halo 5. I don't think the Guardians need to be a thing. We can just skip on that. But what about Cortana? She needs to be in this story, right? Well, for starters, we're not making her a villain. But this is where the Librarian comes in, right? So the Librarian obviously has all these powers. She gave Master Chief the immunity to Composer. And at the end of Halo Infinite, they kind of teased that, like, they could create beings or whatever from... What is it? They could create beings or whatever from, like, AI. So what we could do there is have it so that Cortana is, like, created by the whatever her name is, and have it so that Cortana comes back, but as like an actual being, as opposed to just whatever. And Cortana comes back, she can fight, and we can give Master Chief the replacement AI, but also make it so that, he isn't exactly on board with the whole idea. So that way we can have Cortana back, but we can also have the weapon, or whatever her name is. Which I like, but I do think that she should just be a different character. Having her replace Cortana is a really bad idea for multiple reasons. So having Cortana, like, as an actual person alongside Chief, and being able to keep the weapon, or whatever her name is, on the side, just seems like the best solution. So Halo 5 would basically end, I think, with Atriox and the Banished. They'd probably be defeated. The Didact is back. Master Chief teams up with Cortana and Arbiter and whatever else. But we need Halo Infinite to be larger scale. Like Halo 3, that had like the Arc, that had the Halo battle, that had like the Gravemind, then you had to kill the last Prophet. Like, big scale there. So, since the Didact would still be alive, he'd be like the villain. But my only concern is, like, do we bring the Flood into this? Because if we do, then we have a couple problems, one of which being that they'd only really be in the last game, because we couldn't bring them into Halo 5 in this theoretical, because the Banished and the Didact would be way too much, just as, like, 2 combined villain factions for one game is already a lot. Bringing in the Flood just doesn't work. Unless you want to have it at the end, like, the Didact is using whatever in order to fight the Flood or something, but like the Flood kind of just are already gone, so there's not really a reason to use the Flood again. I almost think the Flood just shouldn't be there, but at the same time, they're kind of integral to the Halo story, so I can't really think of a good way to tie them in. So I think either way, the Didact needs to be the main villain, and you need to increase the threat level somehow. The Ark is destroyed. At least, was it? I don't remember, honestly. If the Ark wasn't fully destroyed, then that means that now we could theoretically have the threat of the rings again, but I don't know why the Didact would do that. Possibly, maybe he takes the remains of the Composer and throws them into the Ark, and he's like, I'm going to convert everything into Forerunner. Because, like, that's one of the things the Forerunners are, right? They're living beings reconverted into digital people. So we could just have that be the threat. And he's going to combine the Composer with the Halo rings and do that. I actually like that. That's pretty good. I'm completely spitballing here, but that's actually like a decent story idea. Anyway, this episode's getting a little long. It was very disjointed, but I do think I didn't really explain my problems with the story of the Halo Reclaimer trilogy that much, or a lot of what I do to improve, but, well, as it stands, on the bright side, next episode we'll actually be able to go in depth with a lot of this stuff, because I've been wanting to, like, spitball ideas for a rewrite of the Reclaimer trilogy for a while, especially since Halo Infinite came out and it was kind of disappointing. So, well, as long as, you know, we can create a compelling story here, which I think we can. The decision to make Cortana into, like, an actual physical person might be a little controversial, but I do think that it's probably the right idea, especially if they're going to keep with the whole AI rampancy thing, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it also makes sense lore-wise, so I mean, I won't bash it, but either way. If they were gonna actually, like, take Cortana's death, like, super seriously and make it so that, you know, there's no replacement for Cortana, I don't think you can do that, because Cortana is so integral to Chief's character, not to mention being one of the biggest characters on her own, that if you did that, you're losing out on so much. Just, like, not even just in terms of the characters, but also in terms of, like, story, lore, the franchise's future. So I definitely think that what they did with Halo Infinite was still the wrong call, but that's mostly Halo 5's fault for turning Cortana evil anyway. And it all stems back from Halo 4's decision to kill her with no future plan in mind. So if they did just actually do something, then maybe we wouldn't be having this discussion. Who knows? Anyway, this episode's getting a little long, so I think I'll end it here. And I will see you next time, where we actually talk about, like, in depth on this. Bye.